And 2 extra feet of security measure there.
If the first levee does break, a second levee a few miles away has been built. However, some who call the dunes home chose not to stick around to see what happens.
Different levels of evacuation. Some people just grabbed their billfolds and purse and headed out the door and left everything behind. Others took everything and removed all the drywall and insulation out of their basements. We've seen that quite a bit, where folks are anticipating their basements to flood and then they're trying to cut down on the mold from forming after the water evacuates.
Law enforcement, along with barricades, are keeping people out of the dunes, while homeowners hope the levees keep the water of the Missouri River away from their homes. For webcasts and updates on Missouri River flooding anytime, go to sdpb.org/flood. This is a special Missouri River flooding update from SDPB.
Governor Dennis Dugard and other officials seem optimistic about holding back Missouri River floodwaters. All levees in the southeastern part of the state are expected to be finished by Saturday night. Even levees around the Windstone community are near completion after struggling to find help earlier in the week. Incident Commander of Rocky Mountain Team C, Joe Lowe, says he is confident in the Windstone levee.
You're looking real good right now. You're going to have some dewatering issues to take care of, but it's starting to stabilize over there. We're starting to move to a point where I'm feeling comfortable now over there.
Governor Dugard says the levees seem strong, but there will still be seepage and boils.
But for a period of time here, it's still going to be very uncertain. The levee looks strong, but there's other means for the water to find its way in.
Dugard says they're hopeful they can still manage the levees through dewatering. The real test for the levees will come early this week. Currently, the Gavins Point Dam is releasing 145,000 cubic feet per second. On Tuesday, that increases to the projected 150,000 CFS. Lowe says the levee is already starting to feel the full effects.
It's going to take about 2 weeks to see how this is going to affect that levee and how stable it is. That's the earliest. We're starting to see and evaluate the effects of this levee system right now.
Lowe says they are optimistic. He says if it wasn't for the state taking immediate action, they wouldn't be as far ahead of the flood as they are now.
For webcasts and updates on Missouri River flooding anytime, go to sdpb.org/flood. This is a special Missouri River flooding update from SDPB.
Residents of Pierce say they are ready and now wait to see what happens as the Missouri River pushes the most water ever through the system. It's a sad and depressing sight that Governor Dugard witnesses on his daily tours of the levee system.
As I drove through the Fort Pierre communities this morning, I saw many homes buttoned up, completely evacuated. The spirits, I think, are heightened beyond what they were.
Shauna Lindquist provides humor in the front lawn of the Governor's Inn. There's a boat, life jackets, and oars with a sign exclaiming, "We're ready."
My boss was in Canada, and his wife brought down the kayak. I'd been sandbagging for the past 5 days, and I needed something to make everybody laugh, so I stuck it out here with the signs.
Travel down Sioux Avenue and across the street from the Governor's Inn, the green Sinclair Brontosaurus is wearing an orange life vest. Mark Mitchell with Don Sinclair says it's been well received.
You just kind of want to make people laugh, and there's been a lot of people stopping in and, getting their pictures on it and just kind of having fun with it, so that's kind of why we did it.
The attempt at making people laugh has even caught the governor's attention.
I passed one house that said, for sale indoor pool. I passed another house that said no fishing, no wake. And I passed a third house that had a boat anchor on the roof.
Humor is healthy, but on a serious note, Governor Dugard says residents are taking the flood fight seriously, and he's glad people put safety first.
For webcasts and updates on Missouri River flooding anytime, go to sdpb.org/flood. This is a special Missouri River flooding update from SDPB. David Becker is the operations manager of the Gavins Point project dam near Yankton. He says the Army Corps of Engineers chose to bump up the increase all at once rather than a gradual increase throughout the day.
At 8 a.m. this morning, we increased our flows to 150,000 cubic feet per second total, which should be roughly 20,000 cubic feet per second out of the power plant and 130,000 out of the spillway. But today, since our increase was only an increase of 5,000 cubic feet per second, our reservoir managers really felt they could do that in one step. The middle gates are open about 10 feet, and then the gates on each side of that are open 8 feet.
As the flow increased, people gathered to watch. Gail Eveleth owns a business on the Missouri River near Sioux City, Iowa. She came to Yankton to witness the increases in hopes of gaining some insight on what to expect downstream over the next 24 hours.
If it floods upstream, will that save us? Or if it doesn't because of the levees, the full brunt of it coming downriver? It certainly is historical.
Other onlookers at Gavins Point came to simply experience a once-in-a-lifetime event.
I hope it's a once-in-a-lifetime happening, because what's going on at Lake Oahe at Pier is the same thing. They're letting out the same amount, which is like, 150 cubic feet per second.
Just driving up the road, you could see the mist coming up we're a half mile away and you could already see the mist. Each day is more powerful.
The Army Corps doesn't plan any additional increases out of Gavins Point Dam. It takes about a day for higher flows to reach the Dakota dunes. For webcasts and updates on Missouri River flooding anytime, go to sdpb.org/flood. This is a special Missouri River flooding update from SDPB. It's been over 3 weeks since South Dakota began its battle against flooding from the Missouri River. Now that all 4 dams have reached their planned release flow rate, many are now keeping a close eye on levees.
Safety is our #1 concern, and we have to keep in mind that we do have a levee system. It's charged with water behind it. And it can be a very volatile situation, and we have to monitor that on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis.
Residents of the Dakota dunes will be allowed back into their homes on Thursday for a brief time to examine any damages or retrieve anything left behind.
Only those that are residents of Dakota dunes are going to be allowed into their residence. They must have the ID system that the emergency management team has put into place, and they must have a government-issued ID, photographic ID with that in order to get back in. Everyone must check in at the checkpoint on Dakota Dunes Boulevard, and they must check out when they leave. There is a requirement for us to manage who is inside the levee and who is not.
As homeowners begin to assess flood damages so far, Governor Dennis Dugard is already looking at what this flood has cost the state of South Dakota.
The total amount of state costs, this is just state costs, is in excess of $10 million. More than $5 million of that is National Guard activation costs.
For webcasts and updates on Missouri River flooding anytime, go to sdpb.org/flood. This is a special Missouri River flooding update from SDPB.
Crews worked all day to fix an issue on the South Levee in Dakota Dunes. Officials say the levee hasn't breached, but some of the riprap is caving into the river. Lieutenant Governor Matt Michaels says levee construction begins with a wide base of packed sand, then dirt and clay with plastic over it, then sandbags, and finally large chunks of rock called riprap. But whirlpools in the swollen river are causing some problems.
What's happened in this circumstance is the force of these whirlpools and the current coming back on it dug in under the plastic where the dirt and the sand is and just created these large holes. And so the dirt from underneath, it's like a cake. And so if you ate up from underneath of a multi-layered cake, it would eventually slough off on the side, and that's what's transpiring now. So they're dropping the rocks in there, quite a bit of them. I mean, they're massive boulders going into the river to stabilize it.
Residents in the country club section of Dakota Dunes were supposed to be able to visit their homes today, but Michaels says the visitation is postponed to allow more room for trucks needed to repair the levee and to ensure safety. Jeff Dooley is the district manager of Dakota Dunes. He says he's glad the National Guard caught the problem in time.
The repairs started almost immediately. I don't think seepage is an issue as of right now, but something like that could cause that, and that's why it needs to be identified and fixed very fast.
Resident Bernie Schreiber was hoping to go back to his home today.
I miss my home, obviously, your bed, your pillow, and your surroundings, and I say I've been there 20 years. I'd sure hate to lose that home, but we'll just wait and pray. They've done a heck of a job trying to save us.
Schreiber says it's fine that he wasn't able to visit his home because he says the levee work is important. Officials hope to open the area to residents tomorrow at 10 a.m.
For webcasts and updates on Missouri River flooding anytime, go to sdpb.org/flood. This is a special Missouri River flooding update from SDPB.
Secretary Tom Vilsack assured producers of the availability of the crop insurance and other disaster programs. Vilsack says the USDA will assist farmers and help ease stress.
Also wanted to make sure that there was an understanding we would work with folks in terms of loans that they have with USDA to make sure that we don't add to the stress at this point, and that if folks who have been displaced because of homes, that there are opportunities through rural development with housing units that could potentially be available on a temporary basis.
Vilsack says farmers and members of the communities being flooded are frustrated over lack of information from the Army Corps of Engineers. He promises to inform the Corps of the need for better communication.
For webcasts and updates on Missouri River flooding anytime, go to sdpb.org/flood.